Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Echoes Plus by developer Binary Zoo. It's a dual stick shooter with a little bit of a Super Stardust HD meets Geometry Wars feeling. If you've watched the channel for any length of time, you'll know that I am a huge fan of twin stick shooters in general. This one in particular though is actually incredibly feature rich, and not only is it incredibly feature rich, but it's also free. So I believe it was created to show off this AGK2 toolkit as sort of like a demo game of like, here's what's possible if you get good with using this piece of software, and my goodness, they've done a very good job with it. So let's go over some of the options and then we'll do a run of one of the very many modes in this and see how it goes. So first off, we've got Start, Echoes, Normal, RockLeeSmile, it's my name there. Difficulty setting can be set to Normal, Hard, Insane, or Easy. We'll stick with Normal for the moment. Modes, we've got Echoes, which is 10 increasingly difficult levels, so basically sort of like a waves type system. Time attack, you get 3 minutes to get the highest score possible, sort of like Deadline in Geometry Wars 2. Survivor, just survive as long as you can, so kind of like Echoes minus the waves. It'll just keep getting harder, I suppose, or maybe it just stays hard for the whole thing and you just gotta see how long it can last. Classic, just classic Asteroid, so if you're not interested in getting involved with other things. Asteroid Belt battles snakes of asteroids. Meteor Storm, fend off waves of meteors, and then we're back to the beginning again. Then over here we've got our leaderboards, we've got achievements that we can unlock in a whole variety of them, in fact many tied to each version and game mode of the game. And then back to this, we've got a small options menu with a cool feature that I haven't seen a lot of people do. Number one, well, you can set your sound and music independently of each other, which I think is always a positive. Number two, movement speed. We can actually change how fast our movement speed is, which is a thing that I think is kind of interesting to see done in a game like this. We can also set our controls to joystick and then configure them. Joystick or keyboard, of course, or mouse, actually, bizarre enough as that is. And then we can actually set them up and map them as we choose. Lastly, there's also a music source option down here at the bottom, where we can either set the game's music, which I find to be quite good, or even our own music. There's actually a media/my music folder you can put some MP3s into and load them up. The one thing that I would say as far as a complaint about the UI is just that I find this little orbiting planet going around the option you have selected to be a little bit difficult to parse what exactly you're in control of at the moment. If they could have just had like the frame around the thing that you're trying to highlight light up, I think that probably would have been a bit more intuitive. But honestly, I can't really find a lot of things to complain about since, again, the game is totally free and has a million features. So why don't we go to hard mode and we'll just do a run of Echoes, and hopefully this will give us a chance to show off enough of the features here. You know, again, if there's anything that you feel like you're missing, I would definitely recommend just go grab this yourself and give it a try. You have absolutely nothing to lose. So I'm sure you've probably already figured out the gameplay premise here. We're a little dude in the middle. We've got an increasing barrage of energy bullets that we get to fire. There's also power-ups that'll drop and occasional smart bombs that we can use. I believe the way it works is the tail behind us is dragging along our smart bombs, so if I really wanted to, and you know, obviously I don't think I'm under much pressure to use one now, but just so you know what it looks like, that was a smart bomb, and I think it may have just dropped 2 more as well as several weapon power-ups, so I'm just going to go ahead and snag all of those. You'll notice we went from like a 2-shot to a 3-shot and then a spread 3-shot, and I believe it will just continue getting better and better indefinitely throughout the entirety of this game, which is one thing I actually think might even be a little bit of an improvement on Geometry Wars. I really like the fact that you can kind of spiral out of control as a ship as well with like your capabilities for your weapons. And in Geometry Wars, oh wow, 3 at the same time? I don't know what's up with that. Guess we got very lucky for being on hard mode or something. Oh my god, they're dropping everywhere. I played a run on normal mode, they didn't happen nearly this frequently. But I find that one of the things that I thought was maybe a little strange about Geometry Wars is, well, the enemies just keep getting harder, but you never get any greater capabilities other than just, you know, either the fast shot or the wide shot, and it just kept alternating between the two indefinitely. And, well, you get used to that, and that's part of the strategy, I guess, of kind of taking on a game like that. But I think there's also something really fun about the idea of just your ship getting indefinitely better to counteract how much chaos is going on the screen. Also, in regard to the difficulty mode for this one, this is actually addressing one of the things I thought I was going to end up talking about, which was the beginning of the run felt a little bit boring, actually. And, I mean, this is coming from somebody that's got, like, hundreds of hours playing this type of game, so honestly, I'm a little bit biased here in that I'm maybe a little bit better than average, and I don't mean that to sound condescending. It's just, you know, you spend enough hours with something, it's just bound to happen. it becomes a little trivial to dodge things after a while. And I know that's also, saying that considering I'm running into stuff all the time is not really helping my case any, but, you know, I'm talking at the same time. So I'm going to be a little bit less able to keep up with the crazy amount of stuff that's going on the screen. You know what I think is happening here is every time I get hit, I'm dropping my weapon power-ups, not just gaining more and more of them like I thought. Although my gun doesn't seem to be getting any less powerful. In fact, it seems to be doing the opposite, so I don't know. There's a few intricacies to this that I'm sure I'm still going to be figuring out for a little while, as is often the case with any of these games. They tend not to make a real show of, like, all of the things that happen in a game like this, because you just pick them up over time, having played them, you know, many hours. A lot of these things that seem confusing at first will eventually just become, like, second nature to how the game works. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that it's really necessary to have to tutorialize something like this, because you'll just intuitively figure it out, and that's fine. As far as the graphics go, I think it's a lovely, kind of like a throwback to a Vector feeling. It's certainly not, you know, quite as showy as something like Geometry Wars, but I also kind of appreciate that it didn't go quite as far out of its way to go completely insane with the graphics. I think there's a nice happy medium balance here. We've got some screen shake, we've got some wobbling, we've got some, like, CRT-style scan lines happening, neon glow on everything, and it doesn't look like that cheesy kind of neon glow that I see so often in games. And I guess I'm thinking of, like, the Microsoft XNA engine, where, like, there's all these little, and hopefully that's the right reference to make here, because I might actually be wrong on that, but there's a few different types of games where I'll see neon on things, and it just kind of looks like kind of an afterthought, like as if you checked a box in Photoshop to make outer glow happen or something. This one feels like it's got some legitimacy to it. Maybe it's the fact that all of the points have a slightly more opaque edge to them. And you'll notice there's new enemies being integrated now into gameplay, and the level of chaos has certainly gone way, way up. I wasn't looking at the level at all until just now, but it looks like we're on level 6. I noticed when I played this on normal, I was about to level 7 or so before I even started really taking much of any damage. So, you know, I think it probably is worth actually trying to play this a little bit on hard, because this is a lot more entertaining for what's going on. And I think I'd actually be having a really nice challenge here if I was taking this completely seriously and not talking and, you know, trying to do my best at the game. And it should be mentioned, of course, one of my most popular criticisms for this type of game is what's up with the leaderboards. Well, there are leaderboards, and I happen to be playing the standalone EXE version of this right now, but I'm just going to assume with the level of quality and polish that's going on everywhere else, very likely this would be integrated into your Steam friends list, which, you know, is something that I probably am going to test right as soon as I'm done with this, because I didn't really realize exactly how everything was going on at the time that I was starting this up, and that is kind of an important feature. But honestly, even if it doesn't have it, the fact that it seems to have its own connectivity for leaderboards is something in and of itself. So, you know, whether or not it's through Steam, you still seem to be connected to someone on some leaderboards. I'm about to lose, by the way. I'm at 1 energy. And that's a pretty big difference between the way Geometry Wars plays and the way this plays. I don't know what that power-up is. There's a globe with things going around it. But in Geometry Wars, you get 1 hit, you're just done. In this one, you get a lot of hits, although I guess it can very quickly spiral out of control. I do want to kind of try one other mode here just before we go. Well, I also kind of want to look at Classic, because I think I saw a screenshot of this, and it might have had... Yeah, it has a totally different art style to it. This is sort of akin to the way Geometry Wars Retro Evolve was, compared to just, you know, the regular original Geometry Wars. And, okay, so this is very, very different in the way that this is working. So I have to hit A to fire here. I can't use twin stick this time. And I'm gonna guess, is there a teleport? Nope, no teleport, so I just have to kind of dodge around and hope that I don't run into stuff. Oh man, we got the spaceship, and it's gone. So this is kind of neat, as a change of pace for something if you want something a little bit more retro and a little slower. It certainly is a breakneck speed with regard to the other version, and I also love that they took the time to make this little, like, arcade cabinet side thing there, just to, you know, give it a little bit more panache for the aesthetic presentation. Certainly didn't need to do that, and although, you know, it doesn't quite go to the lengths of something like Super Win the Game with regard to, like, the CRT effect, you know, they did take the time to make a rounded edge and everything like that, so looks pretty nice. Let's also go back to the main menu one more time here, so I would like to also try out one of the other modes here before we wrap up the video. Let's try Snakes of Asteroids. Let's try Snakes of Asteroids with Asteroid Belt. Let's see how this goes. So it looks like I've already got a prior updated weapon that looks quite apt and capable of handling these rather more formidable foes. I'm sure you've noticed they don't all die in 1 hit, so As the snakes of these asteroids get rather lengthy, I can see this being quite challenging. And also the shape of the arena seems to be a lot more rectangular with this one, which makes sense, of course, too, because, well, you need a little bit less space, and I think it's probably a better challenge to have there be less space. As long as you've got a little space to maneuver left and right, probably be just fine. So I guess this is the potential, maybe like the greatest your weapon can upgrade to, which is kind of an interesting thing to be able to see as well, and, you know, maybe I'm mistaken there, but I can't imagine how much more powerful you could get than this. Because, well, then again, even with this, though, I'm not killing everything in one hit, but I am putting in some damage with the wide spread shot that's sort of adding up over time, and I'm just imagining as this gets more and more complicated with more and more of these snakes, I'm going to have nowhere to dodge. Reminds me, actually, a little bit of the invulnerable snake enemies from Geometry Wars, although, you know, these are at least vulnerable from all sides. Man, these snakes are getting out of control. Look how long they are. My goodness. So this is saying level 14. Does each snake represent one level or something? Seems like I've gone through them very, very quickly. There's another round. What do we... Yep, up to 16. So we're going 2 levels per... Oh, geez. Are there 3 this time? I can't even tell. I guess it would behoove one to try and keep them all together, isolated in the same part of the screen, but when they start doing loops like that, I can't imagine how you would do that. And basically just tanked all of that damage, which was a pretty bad idea, because now I'm down to 36. And how on earth would I get out of that? Since you can't one-shot your way through the sides of them, I'm not really sure how you're supposed to just kind of make a way through. I guess there's a little bit of management that goes into figuring all that out, and maybe that's part of the charm of this game mode. But it's nice that there's so many different ways you can approach this game, and there's a lot of things for everyone to do, a lot of different types of activities that are all within the subheading of this particular game. And that's going to be game on that round. That was fun. Actually, the whole experience of this is very well done. Very few things that I even really can critique on that are like negatives, largely. I didn't even mention, but it's like, it's a really nice thing too, and I've criticized a number of other games for this in the past, but the sound of the character firing, or the ship firing, is not very overpowering, and that's one of those things that really wears you down. What they did was just kind of keep the ambient sound of the game music playing at just the right level, where you just kind of phase out all of the ambient, you know, firing and exploding sounds, and can kind of just concentrate on the task at hand, which is just staying alive and trying to dodge to the best of your ability. So all of that stuff is really positive. As far as pacing, the only thing that I could really think of when I was playing on Echoes mode on normal, other than the beginning being a bit slow, is that the pacing never really lets up. Which is another really positive thing that I find about Geometry Wars, is there are moments of respite between massive waves that'll come in. Occasionally you can just take your moment to get your thoughts gathered before you get thrust back into another pile of enemies. This one just feels like it's kind of monotone paced. Everything just kind of keeps coming at you for the same amount, for the same length of time. Eventually more enemies show up, and eventually things maybe get a little bit more chaotic, but there's never really just like a break anywhere in there. And, you know, that's probably okay, because, you know, not every game has to subscribe to the same ideologies as far as how gameplay works. But in terms of feeling satisfied, I think having a little break every now and then can be kind of nice, especially when things get extremely difficult. And, well, it can also ratchet up the tension a little bit, too, to have a moment where you can kind of gather your thoughts to realize, holy crap, what's going on? Otherwise, you're just always in the middle of it, trying to fight for your life, and then before you know it, like, you know, everything is just collapsed around you. And when you're trying to feel psychologically like you're trying to make a little bit of ratcheted progress, getting better at the game, having these little markers to kind of denote that you have made more progress can be helpful, just to kind of give you that, you know, I guess subconscious feeling that stuff is going in your favor. But again, this is like super deep game theory stuff that I don't even think is really necessary to address. It's just stuff that crossed my mind to mention, since I do critique a number of these dual stick games. I like to pick out what's good and bad, or indifferent sometimes about them, in my own opinion. I'd love to hear what you think about this as well. If you have any, you know, any relevant stuff to comment on about the stuff that I mentioned, if you think you wanted to kind of branch off on a point that I made, or if you have your own ideas about what makes a dual stick shooter good or bad, definitely feel free to chime in the comments. I'd love to hear all your suggestions about that. Like I said, this game is totally free. You can download it either standalone or right through Steam now, which is something I'm going to be doing immediately, and probably going to be playing a bunch more of this, because I really enjoyed my time with Echoes Plus. I hope you did as well. I hope you'll check it out. Again, links in the description, and I hope you'll come back again tomorrow, because new episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day, so look forward to bringing you another one then. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you'll have a fantastic night. Talk to you all later.